Hi, so today I wanted to talk about aliens and consciousness. So, I think on an intuitive level, we all sort of assume that aliens have consciousness. But if they in fact do, then that would have some really profound implications for life in the universe. That would mean that we have way more in common with any alien species that we meet than we currently might even imagine, even though any external differences of them being some kind of octopus monsters or whatever, one thing that we could be certain of is that they would have consciousness. Now, of course, it's not 100% certain they would have consciousness, but if they have evolved to be an intelligent species doing things, then it does kind of seem very likely that they would have consciousness, because after all, I mean, that is one of these fundamental questions of why is there consciousness at all? Why did it have to be this way? Why aren't we just, well, in a way we are machines, but why aren't we machines without any consciousness, just doing things and reproducing and all of that? Of course, human civilization and art and everything we have would not exist without consciousness. So life would be very different without consciousness. And I think my own opinion and what I really suspect we will find out in the next decades or however long it will take us is that much more life on our planet is conscious than we currently think. For me, the way I look at life on our planet is that underneath all this flesh and blood and whatever, underneath it there is consciousness. It just comes in different shapes and sizes. But at the core of at least most complex beings, there is this certain awareness of being present, being a creature here and now, and having some kind of a feeling of what it feels to be, what it's like to be this certain creature. And I think most people don't give enough credit of how much life is conscious and how far it can reach in the animal kingdom. I suspect pretty far. I doubt if an ant is conscious. I doubt that it's anything that it's like to be an ant or a bacteria. Some people would argue with that, but I think there definitely is something what it feels like to be a mouse, for example. Sure, they don't have language, and sure, I really doubt that they have thoughts in their head like, well, I'm a mouse and today I want to go there. It is driven on instincts. I mean, we can be pretty sure of that, but it would be like it would be like something to be this mouse. So I would argue that no civilization could reach technologically advanced stage without being conscious, without having consciousness. And you know, this might seem obvious that all aliens would be conscious, but if we take it as some kind of a fact, as it has to be that way, otherwise there wouldn't be any advanced civilization, then that changes everything. And like I just had this thought, and for me, it kind of really made me think a lot more deeply about it, like how amazing it is that we would have much more in common with any aliens we meet than we might think. Of course, another possibility is that any aliens we meet would be artificial intelligence systems, that they would be machines, when the truth is that it would be way easier to just send self-replicating machines all across the universe or the galaxy and just have some AI on board it, and to have certain things that they do when they see a planet with life or whatever. So I think it's way more likely that any aliens we meet will be machines. So there is a question, will those machines be conscious or not? This is the question, of course, again, with artificial general intelligence. If we create the machine with the intelligence of a human being, and really soon after that, way more intelligent than any human being, then even though it would be super intelligent and better at doing literally everything than us human beings, there wouldn't be any point for this creature's existence without consciousness. If there is no happiness or sadness in the universe, if there is nothing that's like to feel good, if there's nothing that it's like to be this creature, then where is the meaning in it? I guess here I'm giving some kind of inherent meaning to having consciousness. But I guess to us as conscious creatures, it should be obvious. I would never want a universe where the humanity that we just leave behind, some machines that even if they colonize entire galaxies, like, good for them, but if they feel nothing, if they don't think, if they don't have feelings or anything to aspire towards, then, what's the point? What's the point? I would see no point continuing my life if I was in a hospital bed unconscious. Like, what's the point of that? No point at all. To me, at least, that's how I look at it. So there are some amazing things that we can then think about what we would have in common with aliens. And one of these things would be that, when you're in the moment, just feeling what it's like to be a conscious creature, way beyond being just human, being a person, my name is this and this is my face and, I'm this years old or whatever. None of that matters. It's absolutely insignificant. What matters is the feeling that you are a conscious creature, and to just think that we would have that feeling in common with the alien some hundreds of thousands or millions of light years away in the other side of the universe or a galaxy cluster or whatever. That just blows my mind to think about, that we would have that in common with aliens. And I think and I suspect and I would state that we would have that in common with any intelligent advanced species. And that to me is amazing. Other things we wouldn't know, but then we would know that they would also have the capacity to feel good, to feel bad, to feel some kind of pain and some kind of pleasure, and to have some form of happiness. I think of consciousness as this sort of bubble of possible feelings and states of consciousness, states of mind. Maybe this big bubble is all possible consciousness. Somewhere we have a bubble of human consciousness. If you're like really, conscious Buddhist monk, maybe you have a bigger level of awareness. And this is possible ways of being for humanity, but the entire animal kingdom is somewhere here, and we are inside this bubble of the animal kingdom. But the all possible states of consciousness might be even bigger bubble, which different creatures with different brain structures and artificial intelligence system, whatever, could occupy different parts in this space. And maybe some super advanced creature could occupy a really big part of this consciousness bubble. And that is just fascinating to me, to think what such a being would feel if it could encompass all of what the states of possible consciousness, if it could experience all of it, what that would be is amazing for me to think about. So it might seem like an obvious thought, but for me, actually consciously thinking about it and putting it together, like we think intuitively in movies and books and whatever and shows, we see aliens as conscious creatures, at least acting as conscious creatures intuitively. But to think that they actually are, and in fact they must be, should be, it would be a really weird accident if there would be an intelligent species that would have, advanced technology and they wouldn't be conscious, because advanced civilizations come about not only just doing technology for what. You also need to have art and music and all these human feelings and culture around it. At least I think so. It would be really bizarre if there was this one advanced species that has no consciousness, but for some reason is driven to just have some intelligence and problem solving and just creates technology. Of course, in an infinite universe, if you have an infinite universe, anything that can happen will happen, so you would have this life form arise. But I suspect that it would be really rare, and that like 99.9% plus of advanced species would have consciousness. And I think it's a profound realization when we think about that we would have way more in common with aliens than we might think. So I hope this was interesting in some way. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. And of course, thank you so much for watching and take care.